Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord. COVID-19,
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 COVID-19.
I blow the wind of God from the state of Washington to the state of Maine to Brownsville, Texas, and the tip of Florida. Today, we speak to this atmosphere. Today, burn this thing. This virus hates heat. You just burn this thing. Burn, burn. I call for a supernatural heat wave straight out of hell. Burn, burn. COVID-19,
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 COVID-19.
I blow the wind of God. You don't do it. You don't do it. You don't do it. You get out of here now. Burn. You don't do it. You don't do it. You don't do it. You get out of here. Burn this thing. COVID-19,
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 COVID-19.
I blow the wind of God. You are destroyed forever, and you'll never be back.
We're also testing disinfectants, readily available. We've tested bleach. We've tested isopropyl alcohol. I can tell you that bleach will kill the virus in 5 minutes, and that's with no manipulation.
So suppose we hit the body. I see the disinfectant. Suppose we hit the body with tremendous ultraviolet. Suppose we hit the body. I see the disinfectant. Suppose we hit the body with tremendous ultraviolet. We're leading the way in so many different ways. Supposing it brought the light inside the body in some other ways. As we continue to develop potential therapies, I see the disinfectant. I see the disinfectant. I think people are gonna know. You're gonna know. I'm gonna know. I think people are gonna know. You're gonna know. I'm gonna know. I think people are gonna know it. I see the disinfectant. This whole curse, this whole plague. And is there a way we can do something like that? Injection. Suppose we hit the body. I see the disinfectant. Suppose we hit the body with tremendous ultraviolet. Suppose we hit the body. I see the disinfectant. Suppose we hit the body with tremendous ultraviolet. As we continue our battle against the virus, the data in fact suggests that we're making great progress with tremendous ultraviolet for the invisible enemy. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body. And then I see the disinfectant ultraviolet through the skin. And it's working very well. Very big deal. We will end this plague. And then I see the disinfectant. I see the disinfectant. That's really powerful. We hit the body. I see the disinfectant. Suppose we hit the body with tremendous ultraviolet. Suppose we hit the body. I see the disinfectant. Suppose we hit the body with tremendous ultraviolet.
Morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard. For Spike, Nas, Oltov, Cohen, I am Matt Wright, and together we are traversing the muddied waters of freedom.
I like that. Nozzletov.
I have so many more of those to go.
Oh, man, that's so great. Hey, everybody, how are you doing? Nozzletov to you and yours. I like that. I like that. That's possibly the best one so far. Nozzletov. I am liking that. How was your week?
My week was good. I've spent the entire week watching a TV show I won't admit to watching on the air. And
okay.
And I quite enjoyed it. Yeah. How about you? How was your week?
My week has been just one absolute fantasy after the next. I have been making a lot of campaign calls. That's what I do. I'm a professional schmuck in front of a camera now. If I'm not on this show or my show or someone else's show, or on some, making some kind of media appearance of some kind, then I am on a Zoom call with delegates, libertarian delegates, or I'm on a Zoom call with just, the various state and local affiliates having Zoom calls. I'm making direct calls to delegates and functionaries within the party. I am in front of a lot of people, which is good because my hair looks like I'm an 8-year-old. So that's good. And so it's really good that I look professional. I look like a professional 8-year-old child impersonator. And so that's working well for me. And I have been doing pretty well, all things considered. I have no complaints whatsoever. That's
good, because as the next vice president of America, you don't have room to complain.
Well, that's the thing. No one would actually care that I had a complaint. So there is that too.
People are very upset that we are wearing shirts.
Oh no.
Yeah, sorry guys.
Yeah, sorry. This isn't a campaign call.
No, this is not a campaign call.
If this were a campaign call, then I'd probably do a little something for you. Which is why you got to vote for me. You have to vote for me. You have to support me for my nomination. You might see a little something. I don't know. Get in on one of these Zoom or Skype calls. Then I don't know what to tell you. Things get a little saucy there.
And Jimmy Brittingham says that he loves my hat. Thank you. This is actually the Dan Berman original.
Dan Berman. In the hizzy. Dan Berman. We will not pander to you on this show, on this libertarian show. We will absolutely not. This is also Dan Berman right here.
I've got my Dan Berman bracelets on.
Dan Berman. We will not.
And my Chris Reynolds Law shirt.
Pander to you, we shall not.
No, we do not pander to people on this.
We will never pander to anyone.
Right. No pandering
to the LGBT or to the stoners. We will not pander. We just refuse to pander. This show is about the hard truth, whether you like it or not. Okay, because facts don't care about your feelings. First and foremost.
Oh yeah. First and foremost, allow me to thank Benjamin Daniel Morris Chestnut VII.
Morris Chestnut.
For the Kava that I am drinking on today's episode.
And allow me to thank Le Bleu, Omar Epps Jackson for the ultra pure drinking water, which I discovered is oxygenated with ozone, BPA free, non-carbonated, and kosher. And again,
kosher.
Yeah, it's kosher water. This water has no pork in it.
Yeah.
It's not no pork water. Bluvanaka.
Is it gluten free as well?
I assume as much. Yeah, I assume it's gluten and dairy free and vegan and Whole30 compliant and paleo and keto.
Yeah, that's some strong water you got there.
You can have it while you're intermittent fasting, even.
I believe that the water that I have here in my non-pandering Chris Reynolds Law water bottle is also gluten-free.
Shout out to Chris Reynolds for giving me a hard time when I was on Be Free with Anthony Welty on, was that last night? Yeah, it was last night on the 27th, which is last night. He went on there and asked me why I am in favor of socialized presidential debates, which is not what I said, but he made sure to make it really difficult when I was actually having a good time. So shout out to Chris. So this episode, of course, is brought to you by the Libertarian Dad Bod Caucus, featuring Dad Bod Calendar, which is brought to you by the Dad Bod Caucus, the Libertarian Party Dad Bod Calendar, which features some of the sexiest libertarian men that you, listen, just carry this thing around. Everyone will stay at least 6 feet away from you. There's a picture of me there. That's the good one. We're actually in that month. April is the hashtag month of Spike. This episode is also brought to you by the Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus, the fastest growing caucus that is related to a restaurant that is shut down until further notice because of the coronavirus. This episode is also brought to you by the
Waffle House is open for delivery.
And also open for delivery. This episode is also brought to you by the Libertarian Party Coronavention, which is still scheduled. for May 21st through the 25th in beautiful Austin, Texas. And there's absolutely no way they will stop us from doing that. This episode, of course, always brought to you by my governor, Henry McMaster, who is a bitch, but who did reopen the beaches. So he is mildly less of a bitch right now. So we will give him that. But he is still a bitch.
Yes.
So thank you for that.
So we have a huge show today.
We have a very long show.
Very long show.
This
so
show
for everybody who enjoys hearing our voices,
you're welcome.
You're welcome. If you enjoy seeing these faces, you are even more welcome.
You're even more welcome because it's about to get real.
We don't charge extra for this. We don't charge extra to see.
I might charge extra, but as of right now, we don't charge extra or anything.
Right.
So there is that. So speaking of, so Jesse Ventura, there's some big news for those of you who may want to vote third party this November, but just don't know who you would want to vote for third party this November. Jesse Ventura, shown here looking like a mix between Doc Brown and the Crypt Keeper, announced on Twitter that he said, okay, I've decided I'm going to test the waters if I were going to run for president. The Green Party would be my first choice. I've endorsed the party, and I'm testing the waters. Hashtag Monday Thoughts, hashtag Monday Morning, hashtag Monday Motivation, hashtag Monday Mood. So this was on Monday that he said this. He announced this yesterday on Monday that he is considering running. And then we also have another fantastic human being, Mark Cuban, pictured here, looking at that picture of Jesse Ventura, stated in an interview with Fox News that he is also considering running as an independent. He had said famously back in 2017 that he would consider running as an independent, running for president if he wasn't married. And I don't know if he's married. Is he married?
I don't know. I don't know Mark Cuban's life.
I don't know what to tell you.
And as of 11 minutes ago, Justin Amash.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Yep. As of 11 minutes ago.
11 minutes ago.
AmashForAmerica.com. Let's do this.
Gosh. So, okay. So that just happened.
Yeah, it literally just happened. So do you want to make the show longer? Because everything in here is stuff either I'm really looking forward to talking about, or so we can talk about Amash.
I mean, we kind of have to.
Okay. So Justin Amash, as we all know, he is a strong voice, probably the strongest voice for liberty in Congress. Probably. However, as a presidential candidate for the LP, he is an awful choice.
Yeah.
The Libertarian Party continues to do the same thing over and over and over again and get these GOP retreads who haven't done well in their party when they've gone for higher offices. And we're like, oh, this is the one that's going to get us the 5%. And Gary Johnson got us 3.25.
3.25, and Bob Barr, I think both elections combined got us roughly that amount. And we've been doing this for 4 cycles where we try to differentiate ourselves as the party of true liberty and rejecting the Republicans and Democrats. And then we prove that we are the party of rejecting the Republicans and Democrats by immediately nominating 2 Republicans, Republican for president and vice president, to just drive home how not Republican we are. This is a man, Justin Amash, who was basically run out of his own party by Donald Trump. He then apparently has determined that he's not going to be able to win re-election as an incumbent in his own seat because of Donald Trump. And he is going to make his never Trumper run using the Libertarian Party apparatus and all the hard work that we've done putting together, getting ballot access, all the stuff he hasn't done. Now, there are some naysayers to Justin Amash who say, but Spike, Justin Amash can't run. He hasn't had any interaction with the Libertarian Party at all. And I'd say that's actually not true. Justin Amash has sent people to the Libertarian Party of Michigan to vote NODA against anyone who would run against him in Congress to make sure that he didn't have any Libertarian competition. So he actually does have some history with the Libertarian Party, hamstringing us whenever possible. So now that he has determined that his time with the Republicans is over and he can't get anywhere as a constitutional conservative, which he's been marketing himself as. Now he's going to market himself as a never Trump libertarian, whatever that is. And I am very interested to see who his VP pick is going to be. Some of the rumors I've heard. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we've heard rumors. We don't know if they're true or not. Do you want to address the rumored person?
I would like to address the rumored person. So
Okay.
The rumor I've been hearing a few times from a few different sources who are not connected in any real way is that he is considering bringing in Mark Sanford as his VP.
And I want to remind everybody that Mark Sanford ran for president earlier this year as a member of the GOP,
Yep.
and he lost to Bill Weld.
Yeah.
Bill Weld made it longer than Mark Sanford. That means the throwaway vice presidential candidate, the literal bar that we judge all of the vice president candidates from here on out, beat Mark Sanford in longevity in the GOP presidential race. And that is who Justin Amash is about to bring over.
Right. So, well, that he's rumored. We don't know. He may not bring anyone over. He may bring someone else over. You know, some people were talking about Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie is a sitting congressman. He has no interest in running in some kind of tilt against the old windmill, tilt at the old windmill run against Donald Trump when he needs Republican support for his reelection.
Right. And Kentucky did just change their law back in 2016, saying that you could run for two offices at the same time. You could run for House and Vice President at the same time.
Oh, I'm sure, but if you
They used to have a law that you couldn't, but he would have to switch parties, and he wouldn't.
Oh, he's not going to. Yeah, he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. So that's not going to happen. So Justin Amash more than likely going to be bringing in another Never Trump Republican to use the Libertarian Party to run a Never Trump Republican message. Now let's play a little game here. If you are running a campaign saying that the most important thing is to stop Donald Trump at all costs, that Donald Trump is a unique threat, a uniquely bad threat to our republic and our Constitution, anyone thinking strategically is going to say, oh, well, I guess the most important thing is to stop Donald Trump. Well, if you think the most important thing to stop Donald Trump, who are you going to vote for? The one who's most likely to stop Donald Trump. You're not going to vote third party. You're going to vote for Joe Biden because he's the only one that has a shot. This is bad. We have a really great opportunity to spread the message of liberty. Actual liberty. Not Republican branded liberty. Liberty. Actual self-ownership. Non-aggression. All the stuff we talk about on this show and on mine. And that I talk about on everyone else's shows when I go on theirs. Real liberty based on property rights and self-ownership. Non-aggression. Voluntary solutions over coercive ones. This is a terrible, terrible choice to bring in someone who is going to brand us yet again as edgy Republicans who love weed and hate Trump. And that will haunt us really poorly. He's not going to get progressive votes because they see him as the guy who voted against making lynching illegal. So he's going to get us nowhere with that. What he's going to do is lose us a lot of people who have worked very hard in this party and have no interest in voting for another Republican. He will get us 15 Never Trump, all 15 of the Never Trump Republicans left. And that's about, including the two of them. So 13 additional Never Trump Republicans who will vote for them. We will probably get Bill Weld's vote. Actually, no, Bill Weld to vote for Biden.
Yeah, Bill Weld will vote for Biden. Yep. Everybody, like even all the members of the Freedom Caucus, your Rand Pauls, your Mike Lees, your Thomas Massey, they are good friends with Justin. They will toe the party line and vote for Trump. And these are people who have worked close with him and think that a lot of what he is doing is right and good.
Yeah, it's this is a terrible choice. Now, from our standpoint, from Vermin and my standpoint, this might actually help us because now we've got, there's a lot of people pushing for that pragmatic vote. So this moves a lot of stuff around. I don't really think this hurts us much because our core of supporters are people who would never really consider voting for Justin Amash, and certainly not consider voting for Justin Amash if he's signaling with bringing in another never Trump Republican like a Sanford or someone like that he, or maybe he'll pick Joe Walsh. That'll be fun, huh? To signal that he's running a never Trump campaign. And that will, I think this is interesting. The scary part of this is that I don't think for a second that Justin Amash would jump into this race unless he was being given assurances that he was going to win it. Because can you imagine going from being one of the most well-known Liberty Republican congressmen to being someone who got kicked out of your own party, to being someone who couldn't get reelected at your own seat, to being someone who loses a nomination contest in a very small third party? I have to think he's getting assurances. And at the same time that we're being told that there is the possibility that we won't be getting the Coronavention or a rescheduled convention, but instead a rump convention where the top brass of where the LNC will get together and totally promise to change the bylaws for an online convention, except there's nothing that actually binds them to do that. They could show up, have a quorum, and say, oh, look, the 20 of us or 15 of us or 10 of us that are together are a convention. Hey, let's nominate someone for president. I wonder who we'll pick. So this is bad news. If you want the Libertarian Party to be an organization for promoting individual liberty and property rights and freedom and non-aggression and self-ownership and ending the wars and all of the things that we promote, then going with yet another failed Republican is not the way to do it, especially not the way they would probably have to do it to get him in. So this is terrible news.
Yeah, this is absolutely awful. If there is no actual Coronavention and they do a rum convention, it is dangerous. It's dangerously accurate what Spike said. Like they could just go, okay, we're putting a mash in because that's how we're going to get all of the fringe members.
Yep.
All of the people who are they aren't actual members of the party, but they don't want to vote for somebody who makes them feel the slightest bit uncomfortable.
Which it makes up such a small group compared to the ones who would want to hear that message. Right. I'm sure we could have a situation where 10 Libertarian board members nominate Amash, and Amash goes like that, and then we have several months of Libertarian activists. I mean, I've been doing delegate calls. I can tell you right now, the people who would actually have to be out there promoting this candidacy are going to sit on their thumbs. The vast majority of them are going to sit on their thumbs, reconsider whether they want to even renew their membership, and let it play out how it plays out. This is going to be at a time when the campaigning is going to be entirely online. This is terrible. This is a terrible, terrible choice. And if the LNC goes forward with this, if the Libertarian Party goes forward with this, then they will do worse than they did in this last election, and we will be branded for at least 2 or 3 election cycles as just Republicans who love weed and hate Trump. And that's it. And so we will see. It certainly changed a lot of the trajectory for a lot of other candidates. For us, not so much, honestly. Our support's pretty solid and would have nothing to do with Amash. So there are going to be some other people in this campaign who are going to have to change their calculus quite a bit. So we'll see how that goes. Very, very interesting stuff.
What's really funny is I put in big news for those who may want to vote third party this November as a joke because it was Jesse Ventura and Mark Cuban and not Justin Amash. And then, of course, 2 minutes into showtime, he announces.
Funny stuff. Funny stats. He's like the Spanish Inquisition when you least expect.
When you
He was
least
going to
expect.
announce, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, back in February. He was going to announce on Friday. He was going to announce on Monday, and we go, I guess he's not doing it this week. So we'll see. This is
Fortunately, Matt only has to consider whether to renew his membership in Georgia.
That's true. That's
That's
true.
true.
But I'll tell you
Very-
something. Here's the thing. Again, we are being we don't have to wait for our membership to lapse to sit on our thumbs and go, yeah, no, you guys have fun. You have fun pushing this campaign, because I can tell you right now, I've been asked before by various delegates and members if I would support anyone who gets the nomination. I will support a libertarian who gets the nomination. Justin Amash is not a libertarian. I won't support that, and I will be as vocal as I can be about why I won't support it, why it will fail, and then when he destroys what we've built for the last 4, 8, 12 years, however long you want to say, we've been trying to rebuild from Bob Barr and Gary Johnson and Bill Weld and Wayne Allen Root. Like, I mean, can we stop this already? Can we stop putting Republicans at the top of the ticket? Is that possible? Is the fact that they have somewhat deepish access to somewhat deepish pockets, like, can we just pretend for a second that, that we actually are libertarians and that getting some consult fees on the side isn't our biggest concern? Like, this is just a terrible, terrible thing. It's why... Go ahead.
According to Tom Arnold, he says it's not a formal announcement, which I just glanced at it. So it's only an exploratory committee. He still can't make up his mind.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of how they do it, though. I don't see him forming an exploratory committee and then not doing it. I mean, maybe.
Everybody find this on Twitter and retweet it to him and tell him to start at the beginning.
To Amash, yeah. Everyone retweet this to Amash. And
Tell him to start at whatever the timestamp was. I have no idea.
yeah, I couldn't even begin to tell you. But no, I mean, this is... what a dumbass move. Again, what concerns me is that I have a feeling he's only getting in this because he's getting assurances that he doesn't have to compete. Because again, can you imagine if he loses this, how big of a schmuck he's going to look like? Because that's probably what will happen if he actually tries to compete straight up. Like, he has his supporters, but there are a lot of people who already have entrenched support that he would need to really get traction. And we already have this specter of what happens when we pick failed Republicans and what they do within the next election cycle to go on. So I don't, if he truly is thinking this, that, he's just going to, he's going to actually compete for it, I think he's going to be in for a rude awakening there. I think he's going to be in for a rough ride. I also don't think that's what he's doing. I don't think these DC Beltway people are playing on the up and up. So we'll have to be on the lookout for any potential to shove this nonsense down our throats.
Agreed. Speaking of nonsense.
Speaking of coronavirus-related terrors, 2 women, Matt, were arrested operating an underground business. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. Ana Isabel Castro Garcia and Brenda Stephanie Mata had been operating prohibited cosmetology businesses from their home.
Cosmetology. Prohibited cosmetology.
Prohibited cosmetology businesses from
their home. Yeah.
Both women had violated the new COVIDiotic laws.
COVIDiotic laws, brought to you by the Corona Fuffle.
Right. COVIDiotic laws, and had been advertising online over the internet using Facebook, Twitter, whatever, Instagram, I don't know, and saying, hey, come by, we'll give you a haircut and we'll get your nails did for you. And both women had been reported anonymously through the department's app by a couple of COVID Karens.
Gosh.
Damn Karens.
Those damn Karens. We need to make a graphic for these Karens.
And then in both cases, an undercover officer working on the COVID-19 task force, I'm going to repeat that part, the COVID-19 task force enforcement detail. Made contact with each of the women to set up appointments for a cosmetic beauty service that is prohibited under the emergency ordinance, and arrested them when they went there to get their hairs cut.
Again, keep in mind, we are told that this is all for your safety. For your safety, we are going to arrest you and put you in the back of a police car that a bunch of other people have also been in. And then we're going to take you to a...
sanitized since the 90s.
Yeah, it hasn't been sanitized since they got the car. So if you're in a Crown Vic, you're screwed because it's probably 20 years old at this point. And then you're being taken to the jail with a bunch of other people who are suspected of having COVID and spreading it. And if you've seen any of the reports that when they start like randomly testing or doing full testing of prisoners and people in jail, it's through the roof. Like the majority of people have it there. So for your safety, you're being taken to the place where you're most likely to get COVID-19, which really drives home what they're saying here. Do what we say or we will infect you. This is not about safety. It's about control. So Now, meanwhile, in South America, Matt.
El Salvador. Is that South America or Central America? I probably should have looked that up before I put that in the notes.
Oh, man, I think it's Central. And it's El Salvador.
El Salvador.
El Salvador.
They're taking an odd approach to curtail violence during this time of COVID because much like other places, violent crimes have taken a rise in El Salvador by authorizing lethal force against gangs during the crime spree that has arisen.
That is...
I mean, you may shoot these people if they are breaking in to your home or stealing from your businesses. You may murder them on sight.
Well, why? I mean, begging the question, why couldn't they already shoot people who are breaking into their businesses and homes? Also
a good point.
So, the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, says the police and armed forces must prioritize safeguarding their lives, those of their companions, and of honest citizens. The use of lethal force is authorized in self-defense or in defense of the lives of Salvadorans. And then they also have ordered members of rival gangs into shared cells in a bid to break up lines of communication between members of the same group and give all of them COVID-19 as well.
Not only that, but think about that. You're putting members of rival gangs into shared cells
to kill each other.
They're gonna
all kill each other.
It's gonna be cage match in every one of them bad boys.
Yeah.
And in the article, I think they said that they had made like 12,600 arrests, and they were just separating them all into separate, like MS-13 and MS-12. I don't know. We're like in the same blocks together, and it's just like, okay, go at it, do it. Let's just end this now.
Yep. Let's put all, like, I like how they said it too. We're trying to break up the communication lines between the gangs, so we got to make sure that we put rival gangs together. You want them all to kill each other. Like, let's be very, very clear. Like, any gang protocol in prisons involves putting them as far away from each other as you possibly can in order to try to keep them from killing each other. And instead, you're putting them together so they can kill each other. And also give each other COVID-19. So you have a bunch of COVID-19 slathered gang members just absolutely lousy with the stuff, stabbing each other and the blood spraying more than 6 feet.
So each other.
So coughing and,
and
aerosolizing it while they're and then the stabbing and the blood is going everywhere. And then that, I would assume, has COVID-19 in it. And so now that is everywhere. Social distancing is completely out the window.
People are slipping and falling all over each other.
Yeah, it's like a cartoon thing. They're doing the slippy walk and then they fall. COVID-19, they got it. They got COVID-19, then someone stabs them just in case.
And then they stand up and they say, "We're the aristocrats." For anybody who didn't get that joke,
You can't even explain. You can't even. Yeah, you can't even explain it.
Ask Spike to explain that.
You can't
joke.
even begin to explain all that. But that's funny. Speaking of the aristocrats, Joe Biden. Oh, what a lead in there. Joe Biden has launched a podcast. This is a real graphic, folks.
Yes.
This is a real graphic. I did not make this. If I had, it would have looked like this. Okay? Joe Biden has launched a new podcast for reaching his viewers called Here's the Deal, a sentence made famous by the late H. Ross Perot. So I only hope that the person leading in is like, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Can I finish?
Can I finish?
Can I finish? Can I finish? Can I finish?
Here's the deal.
Here's the deal.
If you want to get knee high to a raccoon, you gotta. I don't even know how to.
Yeah,
finish
I don't
that.
even remember, but yeah, no. Can I finish? Can I finish? Can I finish?
Can I finish? Here's the deal. See, if we go
You're
through
like-
with NAFTA, you're gonna hear a great sucking sound. Oh. You may have been right.
You're going to feel a great sucking sound. There we go. So, so he's got a podcast, which is good because we really needed. Well, I mean, I guess he's at least not a libertarian. But so we needed another podcast. So Joe Biden, he has his podcast, which is good. Because this will help offset some of the other clips related to him that are online right now, which is there's one. We had talked before about the fact that there was the possibility of Tara Reid, who has accused Joe Biden of sexual assault. Supposedly, she claimed that her mother had called into Larry King to complain about, to give kind of a cryptic call asking about who her daughter could reach out to get help in a time when
outside of the media.
And we didn't know if that existed, and then this came out.
We're back. A couple more phone calls on this very important topic. Our guests are former United States Senator Howard Baker, Richard Allen, former National Security Advisor, and Lois Romano of the Washington Post. San Luis Obispo, California. Hello.
Yes, hello. I'm wondering what a staffer would do besides go to the press in Washington. My daughter has just left there after working for a prominent senator and could not get through with her problems at all. And the only thing she could have done was go to the press, and she chose not to do it out of respect for him.
Or she had a story to tell, but out of respect for the person she worked for, she didn't tell it.
That's true.
Now, but these are the people who do come to the Lois Romanos, right? The staff worker who says, I want to let you know about what's going on, either with my boss or the guy down the hall.
And a lot of these people have a sense of obligation. They feel that this public official should be accountable if it's something
They're
wrong.
whistleblowers to the press.
Exactly.
So if you're listening on audio right now, thank you.
Yeah, and if you are listening, then you're missing out.
You're missing out.
So we actually have and I took a still shot. Oh, wrong thing right there. That is not. Oh, where is it? I didn't take a still shot. So I didn't take a still shot. But basically at the end there, what it shows is that Google Play has deleted that episode from their archives of the Larry King Live or whatever it was called, which is very interesting.
I believe that episode was August 11th. Actually, I have the still shot here. I think it was August 11th of 1993. Real quick, August 11th, 1993. Now, it was on there, and then it went away. It's gone. It went away shortly after it was discovered. That was the episode that Tara Reid has said that she was like, yes, that is my mom's voice. Before this aired, she said that my mom called into Larry King. She called him a prominent senator. And she kind of cryptically talked about what had happened to me.
Right.
the woman on the phone, which we can't really say is Tara Reid's mom. We
So
can't say
have they not gone to Tara Reid yet to see if she confirms this is her mom or?
Tara Reid does.
Oh, okay.
Tara Reid does, but I mean, if you say that my mom called into Larry King and referred to Biden as a prominent senator, and then in 1993 somebody called in and cryptically said something like that and referred to the senator in question as a prominent senator, you're going to say, yes, that's my mom. Yeah, no, that's her. Yeah, that's her.
No, it was a different call.
It's a different call
about that. Yeah.
So Tim Stanley asked, I wonder if it was CNN or Google that deleted it. That was Google. CNN had no ability to delete that.
Google is deleting from the public record.
Google deleted that from public record.
And by the way, there's no wild accusation or anything there. It's literally just a video of a woman saying that her daughter had a concern that involved a prominent U.S. senator and didn't bring it up to anyone out of respect for that. That's literally it. There's nothing wild there. We have no idea. We don't know for certain that proves anything. It's very odd that they would remove that.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
why
very
would
strange
they remove it?
Why did you remove that? It makes no sense on why you would do that.
And especially in this era when we can all find it. Like, it's not as though we can't find that. It's wild to me that they did that. Like, it's so easy to confirm that exists. We just watched it. Like, we literally just watched it. It's on the internet. You can't get rid of it.
The amount of time that it took me to find that video was all of 4 seconds.
Yeah.
And most of that 4 seconds was looking for a good copy.
Yeah. The internet is forever. So now all they've done is drawn attention to themselves that they deleted it, which is about the dumbest thing I can think of someone doing. It's absolutely what idiocy to do that. So we have that, and but this does corroborate the story. We also have additional evidence. Adding to the evidence against Biden is a woman named Linda Lacasse, a former neighbor of Tara Reid, and she has corroborated that Tara told her about the incident when they lived next to each other in the 90s, Matt.
Yes. So Lacasse said that she would sometimes sit on her front stoop smoking cigarettes after she put her daughter to bed, and that Reid would come over and join her occasionally. One of these evenings, they had a conversation about the alleged assault. They were both talking about kind of bad situations that they had been in, and Reid started telling her about the assault. Lacasse, I'm not really sure how to pronounce her name.
Yeah.
He said, we were talking about violent stories because I had a violent situation. We just started talking about things, and she told me about the senator that she had worked for, and he put his hand up her skirt. She was crying. She was upset. And the more she talked about it, the more she started crying. I remember saying that she needed to file a police report. Now, in March of this year, Lynn posted on her Facebook, she posted an article detailing Reid's allegations with the message, "This is my good friend Tara Reid, who was assaulted by Joe Biden in 1993.
This is Lynn who did this.
This is
Linda.
Linda Lacasse or Lacasse. She is the one who posted this.
Now you're probably thinking, oh, she must be some kind of Trump supporting, deplorable that she's trying to hurt Joe Biden. But yet Linda says she acknowledged that coming forward to support an allegation against Biden, quote, may have repercussions for me. But then she also told Business Insider, she said, I personally am a Democrat, a very strong Democrat, and I'm for Biden regardless, but still I have to come out and say this.
Now, he got the endorsement of Linda Lacasse.
He said, so Linda Lacasse says, even though I believe Joe Biden sexually assaulted my friend and neighbor, I am still supporting him.
Both supporting. I am still going to support him.
I'm still going to support him.
Earlier today at 3:00 Eastern, Joe Biden did a online forum to explain how COVID-19 affected women with a special guest. His special guest also gave him her endorsement, and that was Hillary Clinton. So the day after these allegations seem to gain real steam on the Joe Biden sexual assault case, he gets a woman famous for being a rape and sexual assault apologist to endorse him and show up to talk about how COVID-19 affects women, but completely ignores the sexual assault allegation.
And he was actually expected to address that.
He was expected to address it and
did not. And if you look at that coupled with Google deleting stuff and the general, you're seeing this big divide between the left, the true left, people who right now are saying, I'm voting for Vermin Supreme, unironically, and the progressive Democrat left, center left. The progressive Democrat center left is saying, we have to vote for the rapist because he has better policies and we must stop Donald Trump. The left is saying, oh no, fuck you. We're not voting for a rapist, and we're not voting for someone who's a segregationist who said that his children, he was worried about ending segregation because he didn't want his children to grow up in a racial jungle. Racial jungle. The old jungle of race.
What was it he said about 7-Elevens? You can't walk into a 7-Eleven without speaking Indian or something?
Yeah, you can't own one or you can't work in one unless you speak with an Indian accent. And that's not the least of his trouble. This is someone who arguably at times makes Donald Trump look like someone with decorum and tact and sensitivity to others. If you were trying to get someone to accentuate Donald Trump's negatives and contrast them with one's own positives, the last person you would want to do that with is Joe Biden. Old white man, can barely form sentences, doesn't seem like he's fully there anymore. History of sexual assault and allegations of sexual assault, actual footage of him being touchy and gropey, in this case with children. Stupid things said one after the next. Racially insensitive and downright bigoted things said one after the next. History of supporting bigoted legislation, and in his case, supporting the war on drugs, being one of the authors of the 94 crime bill, which led to the largest incarceration of people of color in human history. This is the last person that you would want to put up against Donald Trump, because he actually, in some cases, makes Donald Trump look marginally better. Whoever came up with Joe Biden for the Democrats is probably behind Justin Amash for the Libertarians. Because it's similar, if we all wanted to pick people that would just really help Donald Trump, it's all coming together for him.
Yeah, Joe Biden was an awful pick for the Democrats, and it's almost as though they thought, all of our young people are just a little bit too young. We need to give them a little bit more time, so let's just throw up the old guy who's been in the party forever. Think of John McCain or Bob Dole.
Yeah, but those were look what happened to them. I mean,
right, but that's what I'm saying is Bob Dole, you knew you weren't going to win. John McCain, you knew you weren't going to win.
Right. But then why put them up? I don't get, it's not, they're not a small party that's trying to, grow the message or whatever. The whole point is to contest elections and win. I will say, Biden against Trump, Romney and McCain against Obama, Kerry against Bush, Dole against Clinton. These are all examples where it kind of sort of feels like the parties don't really care who wins. Sometimes, like, the Democrats don't really care if the Republican wins. The Republicans don't really care if the Democrat wins. And if anything, they sort of want them to win, the other side to win, so they can, like, monetize that by getting more donations from their supporters because they're just so outrageously outraged. I think in this case, it's going to blow up in their face. I think if the Libertarian Party actually shows some balls for the once in their damn lives at the national level and puts forward someone who is going to actually speak to disaffected voters, we have the potential to actually grow into maybe even the second party actually being something and having an effect on the culture. That would be nice. A boy can dream.
Nightmares are still dreams. You know that, right?
Oh, no, I know. I know.
But yeah, I mean, with all of that, with Biden, with your bitterness for Amash.
Here's the thing. If Justin Amash said, I am running as a libertarian for my congressional seat, I don't think I would support him in his trying to get the libertarian nomination for his seat, or if he were to run, but if he were to get it, or if he were to run for as an independent for a seat, something like that. Hey, listen, he said some good things against Trump, and he's probably one of the more liberty-leaning people in the legislature, which is, to be fair, like, you know, we talk about measuring the, you know, which slug had the highest vertical leap. Like, I mean, we're very small margins here, but, and so in that crowd, he's jumping a good quarter inch there. Like, it's solid. We can see it. We can see air under him, and that's good.
I was going to say, if I ever saw a slug jump a quarter inch, that would probably be the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
That's what I'm saying. He's the slug that jumped a quarter inch, right? So it's impressive. So, but what I will say is, like, so if he were doing that, but to come in and say, yeah, I pay, and it was, oh, I'm a lifetime member. Do you know what that means? That means you spent $1,500. That is what gets some of the people in LP leadership's nipples hard, is $1,500.
Bill Weld, who beat Mark Sanford in the GOP.
Who beat Mark Sanford?
Yeah, beat Mark Sanford in the GOP presidential primaries for longevity anyway. Probably got more votes than him too. Didn't look into it.
Let's look that up, actually.
I'm certain he did, but Bill Weld is a lifetime member of the Libertarian Party. And remember, when he was running for VP, he said, no, I'd vote for Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton is not that bad. Hillary Clinton is not that bad. And she is a friend of mine.
Yep.
He said this while running against her.
Yeah.
It was not ever about winning. It was about trying to make sure Donald Trump didn't win for him.
Exactly. And that's all Justin Amash is going to be doing, is trying. The only thing he can do he knows he can't beat Donald Trump. He can't get his party back. He can't win his seat back. What he might be able to do in a really close election is get enough votes to Joe Biden to cost Donald Trump the election. That's the one thing he can do to Trump. Now, he's not going to be able to do that because he's not going to be enough of a change. He's not going to be able to move the needle enough to do that. But it's the one thing he has even a shot at. And anyone thinks that he has suddenly discovered that the Libertarian Party is his home after years of completely ignoring us, only occasionally to send people to vote none of the above against anyone who would try to run against him to make sure that he didn't have any actual libertarians running for his seat at the same time as him. That he suddenly is going to be a part of the party and bring us to the promised land. It's all bullshit. He is here to try to hurt Donald Trump. And he doesn't care what happens to this party because he doesn't give a shit about this party. And he doesn't give a shit about you. He never did. That's why he doesn't talk about you. That's why he hasn't even mentioned you until now. This is the equivalent of, a girl lusting after some guy who doesn't give a crap about her, won't even look at her, won't even sniff her way, won't even acknowledge her existence. And after he's been dumped by his girlfriend and gone through his whole, black book of names and had every single one of them reject him, or it turns out they're married and have kids or whatever, and he has no one else, and he's coming, he stumbles to this girl's house all drunk and says, there was always something special about you. And she's going, oh my gosh, now we're going to get married. This is so obvious. I know Amash fangirls who right now are probably losing it because they're so happy about what Justin Amash is going to do. If you can't see this for what it is, I don't know what to tell you. It is so obvious.
And it's just not it's fanboys, fangirls, fan everything for Justin Amash.
They're all fangirls.
Okay.
I'm gendering them. I'm gendering
them. But yeah, Justin Amash entering this race, in my opinion, is the best thing that can happen for Vermin.
For Vermin?
Yeah.
Possibly. Do you know how many people are going to be willing to say, hey, how about fuck you? I'm voting for you didn't want the time-traveling wizard with a boot on his head? Oh, guess who I'm voting for now, since my candidate that I liked better has been completely wrecked by this.
Oh yeah. If they have a legit convention, a 100% legit convention,
yep.
And the delegates actually get to vote, then you have an issue where Justin Amash and Jacob Hornberger and
Joe Jorgensen and Jim Gray.
Joe Jorgensen and Jim Gray. They're all going to split that Prague vote, and everybody else who's pissed off is going to. You're going to get people dropping out, and I'm not going to guess on who would be dropping out. Or
it's really too hard to tell at this point. Yeah.
Because I know most of the people running, and I'm friends with most of the people running, and I'm not rooting against any of them.
Same.
Right.
Yeah.
Not rooting against a single one of them, but they're all going to start endorsing each other in order to be like, hey, take your votes and vote for this guy. And whether that is Kokesh saying, hey, vote for Vermin, or Vermin saying, hey, vote for Kokesh, this could potentially catapult somebody else to the nomination while the Prags are fighting it.
There are going to be a lot of people who we were not their first pick who say, oh, you know what? This is what you want to do? We're going to give you the last one you wanted. And we're going to be like, it's going to be absolutely, this potentially could be really, really, really big if this is how it's going to play out. Because again, I am not convinced that he isn't getting in because he's been assured they're going to just hand it to him. I'm not convinced that isn't the case. I think there's at least some chance that the LP leadership, or some of the LP leadership, I need to be clear because there are some people in LP leadership who are not happy about this at all, but that some people in LP leadership have been giving assurances that they will ramrod him down everyone's throats, in which case all of a sudden Vermin Spike looks really good if you don't like that, because we are a gigantic fuck you to the people that want to do that. And I don't even dislike those people. Like we don't hate them or dislike them or anything else. We just represent a attempt to bring the Libertarian Party back to its roots as a subversive organization whose purpose is to destabilize the state, instead of some kind of beltway confab where people can cut their teeth to get consult fees, which is what we're not supposed to be. We were supposed to break that machine, not become a part of it. And I don't know. Things are looking interesting, man. Things are looking really, really, really interesting. Really interesting.
My girlfriend knows this, as does Spike's wife. But Spike and I had a 2-hour conversation about all the different scenarios that could possibly happen if this were to happen. Yeah, we basically prepped for this show over the course of 2 hours.
I was going to say, the fact that you kind of dropped this on me in the last minute really didn't matter because we've already talked about it. We just are rehashing.
Right.
We're already rehashing what we've been talking about.
Conversation from Friday.
Yep.
Whew.
It's incredible stuff, man. I mean, I already get my name picked out for Mark Sanford and everything. So it's perfect. It's perfect timing.
I hope to God you do that. I hope to God you do that.
I'm doing it. I don't care. What am I going to do? Listen, at this point, our entire campaign is going to be, hey, you want to make sure the Libertarian Party never even considers doing something like this again? Guess who you need to vote for that? So, anyway, speaking of things that are good, Matt.
Things that are good during this time of pandemics and
Corona fuffles, cure fuffles, and all these other various terrible things. Here's something that's good, and that's the personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, anchor call-in moment, where we go through some of the.
We do not pander on this show.
We do not. I will never pander to you on this show. So the problem now is that I don't know, because they got rid of the dates.
It is, hang on a second. I went through and I started deleting earlier.
Okay. We have one here from noted top fan Sarah Ann Anderegg, so I know that one's new.
1, 2, 3, 4. The top 4. I thought we had more, but apparently I thought that Mr. Hicks left us 2.
There are 2 here.
From Matt Hicks?
Yeah, 2 from Matt, and then 1 from Chris, 1 from Sarah, and then is the one after that?
We have 2 from Chris, 3 from Chris altogether, 1 from Sarah, and then I thought we had 2 from Matt Hicks.
We do, yeah. I see 2 from Matt. 1, 2, 3. Okay, all right. I think I know which ones we're doing. So anyway, here we start with the personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, anchor call-in moment.
Personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds here with your AOC Millennial Minute. We've got an election right around the corner. Joe Biden, the presumptive nominee, and I would love to get thoughts from the gentleman at Muddied Waters Media as to, number 1, who do you think Joe Biden will pick as his running mate? And number 2, which might be different or might not, who do you think he should pick as his running mate? There's lots of names that have been out there. I put out Kamala Harris over a year ago, I think, and you guys said no to that about a year ago, I want to say. Michelle Obama, Klobuchar, there's so many possibilities. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Thanks.
I feel like that might be one we already played. Is it not?
No, that one was yesterday.
Oh, that was yesterday? Okay, cool. So first of all, I'm happy to hear Chris out there driving his car, got the blinker on and all that, not stuck at home anymore.
Not quarantined anymore.
Not quarantined anymore. I'm liking it. I'm liking the newly remobilized Chris Reynolds there.
Right.
So who will he pick and who should he pick? That was the question, correct?
Yes. Now he will pick. This is 100% guarantee. He will pick someone who will never, ever, ever bring up the allegations of sexual misconduct or sexual assault about them. They will just not ever bring that up once, and it will be a woman.
He has said he is nominating a progressive woman of color. Now, there's nothing legally binding there, but I think if he didn't pick...
Say that.
Yeah, he did. He said progressive woman of color.
No, he said no. It was recommended that he picks a progressive woman of color. He said he was looking for somebody to have the Biden effect, or so that he has a good rapport.
Okay.
I don't believe he said that.
I am almost positive
Because
I'm almost positive that in go ahead.
AOC said that he needed to pick a progressive woman of color.
See, I thought in the last debate with Bernie, when they asked him, he said he pledged that he would.
He said he would pick a woman.
Oh.
Bernie said that he would pick a progressive woman and probably a progressive woman of color.
Oh.
Biden
So
just
it's
said
definitely
he
going to
would
be a
pick
woman, but it might not be a woman of color. Or
And-
progressive.
Right. And that's actually really smart on his part because, like, the odds are he's picking Kamala Harris, which is a terrible choice.
Bad.
Just bad.
Bad choice.
And not for the reasons that most people are thinking. It's not because she threw a lot of black people in jail for doing something that she later admitted to having done 5 years before it was kind of possible for her to have done it.
Yeah. Right. People forget politicians who lie about stuff.
Right. But it's not because of that. It's because she is a staunch Democrat, which of course he's going to pick a staunch Democrat, but from California. You don't need somebody to deliver California. You're getting California. You need to look for the Midwest and the South. So that is why Kamala Harris may be the right pick. And the right pick is that's the one he's going to go with.
Yeah.
But it's terrible because your Amy Klobuchar, your Stacey Abrams, your Gretchen Whitmer, or your, I forget the girl's name from Florida that I'm blanking on right now. Those 4 picks would be so much better than Kamala Harris because you want somebody to be able to deliver the Midwest. You want somebody to be able to deliver the South. You need somebody to deliver Florida.
Who's the one in Florida?
I can't remember her name right now. And I live here and I feel kind of bad about that.
I'm completely blanking. I'm sure I know who you're talking about, but I can't even think of who it would be. Anyway, so I think it's probably going to be Kamala Harris, who is, again, just a terror. Kamala Harris is what non-progressive boomer Democrats want a woman of color to be. A cop, tough on crime, doesn't care about identity politics. Like, they want that.
Val Demings.
Val Demings?
Yep.
How do I not know a person?
Yeah. Her name has been coming up a lot recently.
I've never seen this person.
And
Val Demings.
Val Demings. And she would be I don't know if she's progressive, but she's definitely a person of color and a female. So 2 out of those 3.
So what I would go with, so I do think he's going to pick Kamala or possibly Amy Klobuchar. Possibly. What I think he should do, if he were not a stupid person, which I believe he actually kind of is, I think that he should pick either Stacey Abrams, who is a progressive woman of color in the South, who came very close to winning an election. I actually came pretty close to an election in Georgia against the governor who also was in control of the election. Actually, at the time he was the head of the election commission, or he was the attorney general, secretary, whatever he was actually in control of the elections. So it's not, there's no proof that he did anything wrong or anything like that I know of. But the bottom line is she came close in Georgia. She could fire up voters of color and in the South, which he absolutely needs if he thinks he has a chance in hell of winning this. The other play, which would be really weird, and I don't know if it would work, but I kind of think it might be his best chance, is Bernie Sanders. I know he said he'd pick a woman. Bernie Sanders might deliver a lot of progressive votes for him.
He would, but
it's a tough one because I'm watching it happen on. I'm watching it happen on Twitter. The most strong supporters of Bernie Sanders are abandoning him because he endorsed Biden. They were sure he wasn't going to endorse Biden, even though he endorsed Clinton and already said he would support whoever got the nomination. They were utterly shocked to discover that he actually did that. If he ran as Biden's VP, it's tough whether they'd say he's selling out even more or if they'd say, see, he's helping take over from the inside or something like that. It's a bold move.
That is a bold, especially after you say publicly that you are going to pick a woman.
Pick a woman. Yeah. It is a bold, there is a tremendous amount of risk and a tremendous amount of reward. I don't think Joe Biden plays those kind of high risk, high reward stuff. I think he probably is going to go with Kamala Harris, and if he were going to go with another safe choice that would probably be better for him, it would be Stacey Abrams or Val Demings, apparently, who I think shocked I never heard of.
In all honesty, I think that I think he's going to go with somebody Midwest. Like, I think Gretchen Whitmer has been, even though she's like, I don't want to be VP, I think that she has been campaigning so hard during this entire COVID-idiotic scenario that's been playing.
That's the governor of Michigan, right?
And Amy Klobuchar, I think either one of those would help deliver the Midwest, and I think either one of them would be them or Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, you're going one way or another. Yeah, you're going Midwest
or South.
Yeah, Midwest, Rust Belt, or you're going for Southern Black. Like, you have to, you know, unless you find some like magic hybrid person who is a black person from the South who's in the Midwest, right, currently. Like, that's not, from the available people, you're looking at Klobuchar and Abrams as probably the smartest choices, or that Bernie Sanders, which could go either way. That could either be that could actually either pull out the win for him or wreck things for him. And I really don't know which it would do, but I think the safer choice would be Abrams or Klobuchar, which means he's going to go with Harris.
That's actually really, I mean, that's fair. That's so fair. That is a fair assessment.
Because it would be a good idea for him not to go with Harris, he's going to go with Harris. And again, as we've said, I think this is our third episode where we're saying this. Let's look at the trajectory here. Who's going to come out to vote during a pandemic? The people who think it's either a joke or a hoax or that it's overblown. Those are Donald Trump supporters. The ones that are going to stay home are the ones who are going to say, we have to hashtag stay at home. We have to hashtag flatten the curve. We have to hashtag report our neighbors to the police. And we're not that big on Biden anyway. This isn't Bernie Sanders. This isn't Stacey Abrams. This isn't someone we can get excited about. It's Joe Biden. I'm not getting COVID-19 for Joe Biden. Right. Let's go even further on that. Where I live, which is Trump country, we could have a social distancing election day here because it's relatively, we're not rural, we're kind of suburban, but we could stay 6 or more feet away from each other. They could wipe down the machinery every time someone new comes into it. That is all very feasible to do here. It would take longer, but it could absolutely be done. You can't do that in New York City or Houston or Los Angeles or Milwaukee or Minneapolis or Atlanta or all of those majors that basically all of the Northern Virginia and the Beltway area, DC, Chicago, Boston, you can't do that there. And those are the areas. If you look at most states, if the major urban areas, the major metropolitan areas don't deliver masses of votes for Democrats, the Republicans would win those states. Illinois, California, Washington, Oregon, not so much. Florida only becomes blue if Miami turns out heavily, and the other major city centers turn out heavily. Boston, with Massachusetts, most of Massachusetts is red. Most of New England's red. It's just the major population centers in those areas, except for Vermont.
I mean, New York, same thing.
New York is, the reason New York pulls it out the way it does is because 1 out of every 4 New Yorkers lives in New York City, or 1 out of every 3 New Yorkers or something like that lives in New York City. But guess what? If they can't vote, and the ones that can are scared, except for the ones who think the whole thing's a hoax, this could be a very, very big election for me in Vermin Supreme. So that is, what we're facing there. So let's... We're probably answering all these different questions now. All right, here's the next one from Chris.
Personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds here with your sports segment. We haven't had a whole lot of sports recently, and we've been blessed over the last few weeks with this Jordan documentary, The Last Dance. And I wanted to get your guys' take on kind of what your biggest takeaways from the documentary have been so far. Was it that Isaiah Thomas was a big wimp? Is it that that Scottie Pippen was underpaid? Was it that the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill is probably the best university ever? Or is it that Dennis Rodman was an amazing diplomat with Kim Jong-un? So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Thanks.
That was a very odd multiple choice. So I actually haven't seen this yet, but it is on my list of things to see. So I'm going to let Matt take this away because I am actually planning on seeing this.
I also haven't seen it. I also haven't seen it. All I can say is that UNC Chapel Hill is not the best university of all time. There's one in that same city that is much, 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 much better.
Oh, Duke?
Yeah.
Oh, are you doing that thing? Okay.
Yeah. As for everything else, I have to wait till I see the documentary, so I can't really answer any. And did they really bring up Dennis Rodman in North Korea in this documentary?
That's interesting.
Now I'm kind of more interested in watching it than I was 2 minutes ago.
I do plan on seeing it. I did a salsa thing one time in Chapel Hill, and that was very enjoyable. So I'm glad we could help you on that question. Here is the next one from someone who isn't a personal injury attorney, but is one of our personal favorites and a top fan.
Hi, super fan Sarah Ann Andrek here. I've never left one of these
fan.
before, so this is interesting. But I was wondering what you guys thought about Donald Trump possibly forcing meat factories to stay open. Obviously, I think it's a terrible idea, but I was wondering your thoughts, mainly because is that something he can actually do? I wasn't sure if he actually could force them to stay in business and operate regardless of whatever the safety concern might be or how great the risk might be. Bonus points. If you have any fun and creative ideas on getting rid of taxes, that's just a little bit of a side thing because I'm still really bitter about learning how much is being withheld from the federal withholding on my W-2. Anyway, yeah. Let me know your thoughts.
Well, first of all, Matt's the one that collects all the bonus points, so I'll let him do that one. But regarding your original question about it's a jip, right? But so regarding the question about Trump possibly threatening and telling the meat factories they have to open, he probably with this Congress and with this Supreme Court, he can probably use like the Defense Act and call it a national emergency that for national emergency reasons that our food supply has to stay open. But I mean, imagine the optics of telling meat packing factories that are like absolutely swimming with COVID in some places that they need to stay open and continue delivering meat. Keeping in mind that it seems like COVID-19 does not, the virus does not live long on organic material like meat, flesh, stuff like that. Like it appears not to live long, but you never know. That might not be the case with all types of meat. There's also the fact that it's packaged in plastic and shipped in cardboard, which means in some cases it can live for a few days. Oh, and it has to be kept cold, refrigerated, or frozen, which means it can live, if it's refrigerated, it can live for weeks or even months. And if it's frozen, it can live possibly indefinitely until it's thawed out and hops on you or whatever. So I think that obviously terrible idea. He could probably get away with it. Obvious violation of the rights of those businesses to decide whether to stay open or not. But I also think that it would look terrible. And I say that as someone who recognizes that there's a potential problem with food supply if a bunch of meat factories and a bunch of farms close. I'll tell you one thing that really isn't helping. When he shut down immigration, who do you think picks the fruit and the vegetables? You think the people who are making unemployment plus $600 right now are going to give up on that so they can go out into the hot fields and pick strawberries for you? That wasn't a good idea, huh? I'm going to let Matt score some of those bonus points on the taxes.
Honestly, the best way to start getting rid of taxes is stop voting for the duopoly and vote third party unless it's Jim Gray or Justin Amash. Probably Joe Jorgensen. The screen that keeps flashing up and down is probably one of your best bets. Either that or the man who gave me this hat.
So, yeah, no, Dan would be great. Seriously, Dan, if just on that one issue, is probably one of your best choices just for that issue. Right. And
just on that issue alone, Dan is your best.
Yeah, and let's be clear, and Dan will probably... Oh, yeah. There we go.
Hey, that's a nice window you got there.
That's the side of my room there. Let me say that... Hey, guys. Let me say that... and I'm sure Dan, knowing Dan, he's going to see this and put it on his website as an endorsement of him, which it is not, but he will cut that part out. That even though I am Vermin Supreme's running mate, we could do a lot worse than Dan Vermin if he did, in fact, get it instead of Vermin. I can't wait to see how he edits this to make it look like I endorsed him. Probably won't be very hard at all.
If he pays me enough, I'll do it for him.
You won't have to. He's good at it. He's good at editing. So I will say that he would do a terrific job in that regard. Not an endorsement, but love him. Would do a great job.
Great guy. Great guy. And if he gets the nomination, I have zero doubt in my mind that I would vote for him.
None whatsoever. I would, if Dan Berman is on the ticket, either as president with me as VP or someone else as VP, or Vermin with him as VP or whatever, I would wholeheartedly and enthusiastically endorse and support that ticket. Zero reservation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Zero reservation.
But yeah, the easiest way to even begin to think about getting rid of it is to stop voting Republican and Democrat because they need that money to pay for their little passion projects.
Exactly. That is worth like 100 bonus points.
Put a note in your phone about that.
Put a note in your phone about the old bonus points. I don't know how those are divvied out. Y'all have to work that out, but I do think that's worth about 100, give or take. Here is our next question. Oh, and thank you for that. From first time question from noted superfan Sarah Anderegg.
Personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds here with your McConnell Minute. Recently, we've had some statements by Mitch McConnell having to do with state bankruptcy, which is, I guess, somewhat of a newer concept, and I am not an expert on this by any stretch, but traditionally when a sovereign is running out of money, they've got multiple options. They can, inject more currency into the system to save them. They can potentially just write off debts if they want to as the sovereign. There's a whole bunch of different things, but McConnell right now is going for this state bankruptcy thing, which has lots of consequences to it, and I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on it. Thanks.
Do you want to go first, or you want me to go?
I've read a little bit about the state bankruptcy, and didn't Detroit declare bankruptcy?
Detroit declared bankruptcy, yeah.
Um, I think that if a state declares bankruptcy, then all of the money that was taken that got them into the debt needs to be returned as part of the bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And that's sales tax, property tax, that's all of it. And if a state is declaring bankruptcy, the taxpayers need to be refunded because you have now screwed up their lives in so many different ways. And then you're just saying, well, none of that matters.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
I mean, I haven't looked all that much into it on the legality of it or how that would work, but I would not just right out the jump. It's not something I'm in support of.
So I am in support of the elimination of all government debt, and here's why. Government should not be running up debt in people's names. I don't like the idea of bankruptcy because it implies some kind of structured settlement of some kind. I support total abolishment across the board of government debt, including debt owed to the government. Tax debt, so-called tax liabilities, student loans, anything that you owe to the government, you should know, and anything that the government has run up in your name should end completely. There are some negative side effects of this for the government and for large banks who have spent a fortune on bonds as a stabilizer. I think long-term, everything works out a lot better. And I think that it also, they say it sets a dangerous precedent. Yeah, don't borrow money. Don't lend money to the government. That's the dangerous precedent. Don't lend money to the government. Now, here's the thing. We talk a lot about China. We owe a lot of debt to China. China has been collecting on its debt for quite a while. The vast majority of debt in the national debt is the Federal Reserve printing out banknotes in giant skids of $1,000 bills and immediately buying treasury bonds with it. It is the Federal Reserve lending money to the federal government. Well, let the Federal Reserve collect on that then from the people who signed off on it. And if they can't pay it, go ahead.
So the issue that I have is you have a lot of private companies that work to get government jobs who aren't going to get paid on it.
That is also true, yes.
And the private company should be able to go after them for it, at least at the barest minimums to get that money. But they would just then be taking it from the taxpayers again.
That's the problem. That's the problem with any of this stuff is that it perpetuates a cycle. Because similar thing with like Social Security, Medicare, that kind of Medicaid, and that kind. It's like, well, it's not fair that I don't get that. It's not, but it's not fair that someone else is being robbed for you to get it. And the longer it goes on, the more robbery is taking place. So it is, I am not someone that proposes snap your fingers and Medicare and Social Security because there are people that like absolutely rely on that. And I think before you do that, you get rid of the barriers to entry, or you get rid of the barriers that are making it so that they're having to do that in the first place. Same thing with the welfare state. I think long before you start talking about cutting welfare programs, you talk about getting rid of the barriers to entry, the occupational licensing, the requirements for degrees, student loans, things like that are putting them in that generational poverty so that eventually they don't even need it. They walk right out of that welfare state. And then yes, you can cut it because it's not really needed anymore. In this case, we are talking about the vast majority of bondholders are the Federal Reserve, foreign governments, state governments, large banks, large corporations. That's like the lion's share. Are there some small investors who have some bonds? Yeah, but overall, largely, it is held by...
You're more talking about like federal debt as opposed to state debt.
Yes, I want to get rid of the federal debt too.
No, I get that. Yes, but like most of the state debt is going to be looking at pensions for teachers, other state government employees that have been building up. And in order to get rid of this debt, you're going to have to get rid of all of these things, which I don't care.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So again, it's an ugly way of doing it. I didn't say it was pretty, and there's probably a better way to do it, but it also is a clean break, and it kind of forces. It's also not gonna happen. Like, I mean,
that was the Scott Walker thing. Right?
You're asking me what's that?
That was the Scott Walker thing when he got recalled.
What was that he wanted to get rid of the state debt?
No, that he needed to rework the pension so they wouldn't go into like massive debt, and they were like, no. And he was like, well, I'm going to do it anyway. And then he got recalled and won.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So, I mean, it's probably better to be, fiscally more responsible for the states. But speaking to the moral question of whether the state should be running up debt in your name, no, they shouldn't. And it creates these entire classes of people who rely on that, which pits people against each other. Instead of allowing the market to seek out the things that it needs, education, healthcare, housing, those types of things, you create a situation where people are being robbed, and some of them, including the people who were robbed and put in a position of needing it, are now relying on those things. So it's best to get rid of it. Is there a best stepping way to do that? A step plan to do that? Sure, but overall, the goal should be eliminating the idea of government of any form, local, state, your school district, getting bonds, whatever, of running up debt in your name. It's taxes with interest. So so let's not do that. Let's cut that out. All right. And then we have 2 from Matt Hicks. Here's the first one.
Good evening, gentlemen. This is Matt Hicks calling on the Chris Reynolds personal injury attorney call-in line. My question for you this evening is, who wore the outfit better? Reb Brown in You're the Hunter from the Future, or Arnold Schwarzenegger in Conan the Barbarian? And go.
Your. Easily your. Matt?
So I only saw Conan.
Your. I'm going to pull up your.
I was going to say, I cannot comment on this because I've only seen Conan. I haven't seen the other one.
Let's see if there's a.
So I cannot make a qualified judgment on this.
Let me see if I can find a nice picture.
I don't even know what he was talking about.
You're the hunter from the future? Hold on. I'll see what I can find. Yeah, I mean, it's so Your is the hunter from the future is one of the greatest movies ever, actually. And I know this because a certain Matt Hicks, as an endorsement gift to me, sent me a limited edition Blu-ray disc of You're the Hunter from the Future. And it is an absolutely just beautiful, beautiful work. There he is right there, Your Hunter of the Future.
Okay, so these are not the same. These are not the same outfits. That looks like that is, and it's tough to tell, but that looks like it is all cloth. I would think that is all cloth, very Star Wars-esque on the poster there. But Thor, he had leather. He had a leather belt around it with a leather codpiece and some metal there, and place to put his sword and his knife. Where that is just a cloth diaper, no functionality.
Your were better. So I'm glad we were able to clear that up. Here is Matt's second question. Matt Hicks.
Gentlemen, it's Matt Hicks again on the Chris Reynolds personal injury attorney call-in line. Follow-up question to my previous question. In a perfect world, Spike and Matt have the entire array of everyone on the planet at their disposal. Who would you like to see in the next sort of post-apocalyptic
caveman movie?
fantasy sci-fi caveman movie where the lead action hero is walking around wearing a fur mankini? And go.
Reb Brown. Reb Brown.
Nathan Fillion. Nathan Fillion. No question. Nathan Fillion. Yeah, Nathan Fillion. That would be my choice for that. Chris Reynolds.
God, the guy from Firefly?
Yeah.
And Castle?
Yeah, that guy.
Over Reb Brown?
Over Reb Brown, yes. Chris Reynolds is saying Keanu. Maybe Patrick Swayze. I don't know when that one came in.
Well, Patrick Swayze's dead, but I also...
Well, that would make it all that more impressive.
That is true. I'll tell you what, if we can get Patrick Swayze motivated enough to do this thing, I'll change my vote there. I would take Keanu over Castle, but Reb Brown.
Sarah Andrick says, wow, not your man crush. No, Joseph Gordon-Levitt would not be able to pull off that role.
Ew.
Don't you me.
What? Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah.
God. Oh, my Lord.
He's not like my man crush, like I want to hook up with him. He's my man crush as in I want to hang out with him more than anybody else on the face of the planet. He seems like a fun dude.
You'd rather hang out with the kid from Third Rock from the Sun than me. Oh, no, I guess yeah, that's probably better.
Yeah, the guy from Batman.
Oh, he was in Looper, too.
He was in Looper. Yeah. And he's been in every Ryan... oh, God, what's that guy's name? The guy that did Last Jedi. No, not Last Jedi. Yes, Last Jedi.
Ridley? Ridley Scott?
No, it's what? Ridley Scott?
Yeah.
That's Blade Runner, bro.
Wait, who am I thinking of?
I don't know. Ryan Johnson. He's been in every Ryan Johnson movie, and if you haven't seen Brick, you should check it out because that movie was so good.
Yeah, I liked Brick, but I also I will say that I'd rather hang out with Joseph Gordon-Levitt than myself too.
Yeah, I've hung out with you. I know what that's like.
Yeah, no, it's nice, but I wasn't in Third Rock from the Sun.
That's true.
You know who I'd like to hang out with is
Oh, yes, of course.
John Lithgow.
Oh yeah, no, that'd be
way better.
That would be a blast to hang out with.
That's my man crush now. For now. Him and Reb Brown. Can you imagine him and Reb Brown? I'd watch that.
Let's see if we can
get that together.
Let's see if we can talk to our producer friends and see if we can get.
We'll talk to our producer people and see if we can get a Reb Brown, John Lithgow
project
buddy
happening.
cop pick that no one asked for. But I would. Everyone deserves it, and if you don't watch Reb Brown and John Lithgow in a buddy cop flick, then screw you. So speaking of screw you, we had a situation over at Wesleyan University over there in Connecticut.
Nope.
No?
Indiana.
Oh, that one. Not the main one.
Yeah, no, the one in Indiana.
Still using this graphic. Don't care.
Yeah, that's fine.
This could be Indiana. I don't care.
I did not know that that was not the Indiana one. So
it is. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. This is the Indiana campus of Wesleyan University. Those are three Hoosiers down there at the bottom.
So the names in this story are not real. They are made up in order to protect
The fine students of Wesleyan University in Indiana.
Indiana Wesleyan University.
Indiana Wesleyan University, pictured here in Indiana.
Right. Whew. But yeah, so John, he had a penchant for getting seizures. Some of them would make him, penchant.
A penchant?
Yeah. Yeah. Did you not read these notes?
He didn't. I didn't see the penchant part.
He had a penchant for getting seizures.
He had a penchant. He wouldn't stop getting those seizures.
No, he would not. That was why he was put on medication that made him immunocompromised. Now, that part of the story is kind of a throwaway until later, but it's very important that you remember that for later. So John and Amy were enrolled. Were enrolled at Wesleyan
University.
And they had an encounter.
Oh dear.
Depending on when you ask, will depend on what happened at said encounter. But because of this encounter, John will not be graduating from Indiana Wesleyan University.
Pictured here.
He was expelled for sexual misconduct complaint filed by Amy. Now, John, unhappy with this decision, with these events that have transpired,
he has a penchant for not liking this.
He does. He has a penchant for not liking being expelled for sexual misconduct, for Joe Bidening up the place. He is suing Indiana Wesleyan University for breach of contract and infliction of emotional distress, like a lot of others who believe that this is something that happens often, where a sexual misconduct, sexual assault, or rape charge happens on campus and somebody gets expelled because of it.
Right.
Oftentimes done without any trial or true investigation, and somebody
just the strength of the accusation is enough to get them kicked out. Yeah.
Right. So he is suing Indiana Wesleyan University because they violated principles of basic fairness in the Title IX sexual misconduct
adjudication.
Thank you. Adjudication. Sexual misconduct adjudication. However,
at Wesleyan.
However, John is doing something that most don't do. He is also suing Amy. Amy didn't only accuse John, and I'm going to say this also. This part comes into question later. Amy didn't just accuse John of sexual misconduct. She told her professor that he had given her HIV. Oh. The school never told John about that portion of the allegations.
Oh.
And it wasn't until his lawyers discovered it that he was forced to take a trip to be tested for HIV in the midst of the pandemic in California, where he was immunocompromised and you were not supposed to leave your house.
Oh. Holy crap.
His tests for HIV were negative.
Meaning he did not give her HIV.
He did not give her HIV.
At Indiana Wesleyan University.
Now, as to their relationship, according to both of them, they engaged in amorous activity throughout the month of October, having sexual intercourse on one singular occasion. Oh. Now, Wesleyan is a private Christian school, and you are not allowed to have sex with anybody outside of marriage whilst being there, and they have very strict curfew laws. Amy was getting in trouble for breaking curfew often. And one time, according to John, One time, she broke curfew, came over, snuck up a rope ladder and into his room where they watched movies with his roommate. When his roommate went to bed, they had sex.
Oh.
If you just play that over and over again, it might sound like he's doing that, and that would be really uncomfortable for everybody.
I didn't say I won't do it.
I know. Amy, on Monday, actually, no.
Was this Monday yesterday? Was this a hashtag Monday motivation, hashtag Monday thought, hashtag Monday morning?
No.
Oh, okay.
Chris Reynolds says, I feel like you're intentionally associating my face with sexual misconduct allegations.
Oh, with this? No, I was just holding it up. Sorry.
I
forgot. I was not fully there.
So after the night where they had sex, Amy hung out with them, he and his roommate the next day. They texted a bunch. Regular, normal stuff that would happen after a night of
not being raped.
But then on Monday, Amy changed her story. And she told one of her friends that she had been raped by John.
Okay.
Her friend has a mother, as most do.
Most people do have mothers.
Yeah. But her mother worked at Indiana Wesley University. So the friend went to the mom. The mom then went and talked to school officials, and they called in Amy. And she filed a formal complaint. So I'm not saying that this didn't happen. I'm not saying that John is telling the truth. What I'm saying is that they never told John about the HIV.
Well, they also didn't, again, with these Title IX investigations, they don't really give you a chance to defend yourself much. I mean, each school's a little bit different, but it's based on you were accused and so you just get expelled. Like it's a bad process. Like there is no due process at all. Now, as a private organization, they can do that, but it still sucks.
Right. Now, what makes this story even more interesting, as if it's not interesting enough, and it, as Spike says, sucks.
Yeah.
The day that the dean found out about the HIV allegation was the day he suspended John.
So they didn't even... They literally just got the allegation and...
Right. And that is one of the theories. Amy, however, claims she never told the professor that she tested positive for HIV.
She's saying she didn't tell anyone this?
She's saying that she never told the professor this. And the professor turned in a report about what Amy had told her, saying that she said that John gave her HIV. Amy saying, that's not what I said. I've never said that. John isn't in school anymore. His lawyers are hoping he can resume classes and get his degree in the university, and they want the university to make reputational repair. And I don't know if John caught COVID, being immunocompromised and going out during this time period. But right now you have a situation where two people had a night. I'm not laying blame on John, and I'm not saying that Amy is lying. I'm not doing.
He could have raped her, or it could have been consensual. We don't know.
Right. What you have is a school that failed to inform somebody that he may be infected with HIV. And you also have a school where a teacher may or may not have lied in order to ensure that somebody was kicked out of school. Now, if Amy is lying, because she didn't want to get in trouble for breaking
Right.
curfew.
Right.
If she is lying, you have to believe that she told the teacher. If Amy is not lying, you have to think that the teacher did this intentionally.
Yeah. Because it's possible she lied about the rape and the HIV part and is now saying, "Oh, I never said that." But if she's telling the truth,
The teacher is
there's
the
no
one.
reason she would have lied about that.
No reason to, yeah, exactly. There's no reason to lie about the HIV.
So either she's just a terrible liar all the way around, or she was raped, and more than likely the teacher lied to make sure that he got kicked out even sooner, or to
Right.
justify kicking him out.
The way I see it is either Amy has told 3 lies. It was, I was raped. He gave me HIV. I never told her that. All 3 of those would be lies. Or Amy told one truth. I lied. And the teacher ran with the rest.
So now he's suing her or the school?
He's suing both.
Good.
He is suing both because
Good, assuming that this is fake. Like that, if she lied,
Right.
it's good that he's suing. Yeah.
right. And her hanging out with him the next few days afterwards, and I understand that we're going to get people who are saying, well, people grieve from these things differently, and I get it. And
It's true. It's true. It's true.
I get it.
It's true.
But if she lied, she should be sued, especially for reputational repair for telling people he had HIV.
Yeah. Because that's
And
worse. He's not only a rapist, but he's a rapist who's infecting people with a fatal disease. Like that's, yeah. And we don't know if he got COVID.
Mm-mm. No, could not find if he got COVID or not.
Immunocompromised at a hospital. Why couldn't they test him for HIV? Like
they didn't
outpatient?
know. They didn't know. It wasn't until the lawyers found out about it, and it was part of the discovery. And then they said, "Hey, you need to go get tested for this because if you don't have it, you didn't do this."
Oh yeah, the fact that he doesn't have HIV lends itself to the idea that the whole thing's made up. Oh, okay.
Right. But then she's saying, I never told her that, which brings into question the entire story.
Which still helps him.
It still helps him.
Because at the very least, it shows that he didn't get anything resembling process and that he was actually railroaded, if nothing else. So, I mean, either way, it's looking better for him.
Right. Gosh. And, if his name was Biden, the media would not cover this at all.
At all. She would have been kicked out for accusing him.
Yeah. But it's interesting because Title IX has these issues. There was a story from USC, Southern California, and a member of the football team and a member of the guys' football team and a member of the female, I don't remember what sport she played. They were dating and they had a penchant for rough sex. They enjoyed it a little on the rough side. Neither one of them filed a complaint. Somebody overheard one of their sex sessions, filed a complaint.
Oh, assumed it was rape because it was so rough?
Yeah, assumed it was rape.
Gosh.
Both of them said that's not what happened. He got kicked out of school and wasn't allowed to finish his senior year as the kicker of the team.
And she was saying that it wasn't rape?
That's not what that was. The school told her she couldn't talk about it. Yeah. That part of the Title IX restrictions is you aren't allowed to talk about it to the media or to other...
Or to the staff that's seeing through... Oh, my Lord.
Yeah. Title IX has so many issues where they don't actually do any investigation. They just get the allegation and people get kicked out. And this hurts people on both sides.
Oh, of course.
Right. I'm not trying to red pill anybody here.
No.
What is happening with the Title IX is that people are getting kicked out of school based on allegations and they aren't being able to prove their innocence. If all of this was brought to a non-partial investigative board, John would be in school finishing.
Yeah.
And even if they said, okay, maybe he did do this, that teacher would be fired. And that teacher is not fired.
What a mess. What a mess, Indiana Wesleyan University, which is what this is right here in this picture in Indiana. Those 8 Indianans in this picture. Hoosiers. That's what they call them in Indiana. That is, what a freaking nightmare.
Yeah, that's...
What a
when
nightmare.
I was doing the research on that story, at first I was like, I'm not going to report on this. But then I kept reading and I was like, this just has so many different layers. I just want everybody to hear it.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know who to believe in this story.
I don't either.
I've only been able to read John's. I've only read John's.
He could have raped her.
He could have.
He could have absolutely raped her. And not and in like a date rapey way where she was kind of confused about the whole thing and still hung out and then realized afterwards that this wasn't like that because I mean that does happen. People are coerced. They try to convince themselves it was something else and then finally they're like, you know what? I didn't consent to this. I was raped. So it's not necessarily like a brutal like in the movies like I'm gonna rape you like like a violent rape thing, but like a coerced rape thing. Where they realized, hours or days later that, this was rape. It wasn't whatever I've been trying to rationalize it as being. That could have happened. It could have been completely consensual, and she said that in order to not get in trouble for, having sex at a school where you're not allowed to, which is still a thing, apparently. And then in addition to that, someone else may have lied about the HIV, or she might have lied. Someone lied.
Yeah, somebody lied.
Someone lied because he's negative.
Right. He doesn't have it.
Which helps his overall case because... So there's a potential that he actually raped her. And the whole thing's going to get swept over because the teacher, in their zeal, lied about it. About the HIV.
Yep.
Which cast doubt on the whole rape part.
Right.
What a freaking nightmare that is.
Or there's equally the chance that nothing bad happened. She didn't want to get in trouble and she lied about all of it. And she has just been lying to cover her ass ever since. Equally good chances. I'm not saying which one is true. What I'm saying is Title IX does not actually protect people.
No. Title IX is terrible. There's a major, major problem and it needs reforming. And if this is how it plays out, and I've heard other terrible stories. There was a guy who was accused of rape. I don't even remember where, but he was accused of rape. He was not allowed to say who accused him. He did not have sex with anyone. He hadn't had sex with anyone. He hadn't kissed anyone. He hadn't done, I want to say it was in New York. I want to say Syracuse, but I may be making that up. He hadn't kissed anyone. He hadn't touched anyone. He hadn't had sex with anyone. He had gotten drunk a couple times, but not nearly drunk enough to do something that he didn't remember. He was accused of rape. He was not allowed to face his accuser or even be told who it was. He was railroaded through the questioning process because he kept saying, I have no idea what... They would say, what happened in the night in question? What night? We can't tell you. Where? We can't tell you. I have nothing to say because I didn't do anything. And they kicked him out for not cooperating. And that based on his non-cooperation, they assumed that he did it. And he had a successful lawsuit. Or I don't know if it was successful, but he sued the college because you did something. No, I didn't. Well, when who says I did it and when did it happen and what happened? We can't tell you any of that. Tell us what happened. Nothing. I didn't do anything. You're not cooperating. You're out of here. How is that anything even resembling due process? So that is a terrible thing, but we're going to end on something that's not a terrible thing. And that is the weekly Muddy Waters of Freedom Vermin Spike 2020 campaign update. And boy, do we have a campaign update for you, Matt. Just for you. Let's talk about what happened. So we've had some incredible stuff happen. Vermin has been on countless appearances this week. I can't even count all of them. There's that countless. But
Yeah.
among those, what's that?
He has been all over my feed.
He does like 2 or 3 appearances a day. He is all over the place. He is absolutely killing it. And by killing it, I mean we are in the Libertarian Party presidential recruitment contest, where all of the presidential candidates are basically trying to recruit people to join the Libertarian Party using their own specific link so they can track which candidate they're joining for. And we are 2 days away from this contest ending, and Vermin Supreme at this point, we are just flexing on him. That would be Vermin.
A couple days ago.
What's that?
I thought this ended a couple of days ago.
So we thought it ended on the 20th, but there was some confusion. Facebook only lets you create an event that's 20 days long. And so it ended on the 20th, but it actually ends it was actually at the end of the month. But we, like not even close, like more than everyone else combined and something like 3 times higher than anyone else. That's how we did. That's how we do. You know, when people say we're destroying the party and driving people away, that this is actually what we're doing. And that's in 1 month. And so another thing that happened was Vermin was on a huge debate a couple days ago, actually on Friday, I believe, the System is Down presidential debate with, I believe, all of the pre-Amash contestants there. And also at the end of that,
is that? I like how Jim Gray just has a number.
Yes, featuring 169566. He was there. And so, also a special someone. So after the debate was over, they did sort of a debate after party because
Ken Blevins was there.
Yeah, Kenny Blevins was there. Yeah, Kenny Blevins killing the game.
I was watching earlier today. Shout out to Ken Blevins.
Oh, we love Ken. We absolutely love Kenny. We love a lot of people on this. And so anyway, so at the end, a special someone tuned in to give the final remarks, give a little benediction at the end there. I did not know they were going to ask me if I'd like to attend, but I did. And I gave a rousing speech. And as a result of Vermin's performance, not necessarily my rousing speech, although I have to think I helped, Vermin Supreme leading at last count in the post-debate poll of who people thought won the debate. Vermin Supreme, I believe it was at last count 844 to 250 something, 230 something, 260 something, 2 something for Adam Kokesh, 30 or 40 something for Jacob Hornberger, 20 something for Duncan Lemp, who was killed by the police in his home, and then 15 or 17 or something like that for Harambe, who also was killed by the police in his home. Your boy VP Spike here did some additional appearances over the week. Last week I was on Drunken Disorderly podcast. I was on the Taxation is Theft podcast with our good friend Dan Berman, right? Boop. And then I was also, last night I was on Be Free with Anthony Welty, who is hopefully Washington State's next insurance commissioner. So we've been killing it. And then I have also been on, I don't even know how many Zoom calls and Skype calls and individual phone calls with delegates and functionaries. I spend between 8 and 12 hours talking. And as a result, because when I talk, I tend to, is this going to come up? Nope. Anyway, I walked 17,000 steps today, or just over 8.5 miles as I was talking.
I wonder what I did today.
What's that?
Oh man, I only did like 8,000 steps today.
Yeah, I've been well over 11 and 12,000 steps for quite some time.
Yeah, the day that we talked for 2 hours, outside of me driving places, I was pacing around frantically.
As was I.
I did not check my steps that day.
Yeah. I don't sit very well. It's a wonder that I can do these shows and stay focused. I think that, all these graphics and stuff help to keep me concentrated. But when I'm usually...
Anybody listening on their favorite podcasting
they
app
have no idea.
They have no clue.
They go, "What's that noise?" And they don't get it.
That is the creepiest noise ever.
Definitely check this out on YouTube because you're missing a few funny things that are happening. But so, yeah, we've been killing it. This Justin Amash thing, I think Matt nailed it. I think this helps us. I think if you look at in my mind, there are 4 camps of varying sizes within the Libertarian Party. And I'm speaking very broadly. I may be missing one, but I may be right or wrong. So one of those camps is the Prague camp, the Justin Amash's, the Joe Jorgensens, people like that, the Prags. Then you've got your paleo-libertarians, Mises Caucus people, and this would be Jacob Hornberger and people like that. Then you've got the libertarian socialist / audacious caucus people who are backing me, which is just backing me. They're backing Vermin and me. That we solidly have that camp. And then we've got the radical camp, which was sort of the Kim Ruff, Dan Berman camp, which is increasingly moving towards us because they're seeing the writing on the wall that if they don't want yet another Prague takeover, we are the best pick. So at this point, it has really been, in my mind, and again, this is my opinion. This is not official campaign. This is just my personal opinion, and I think probably Matt's as well, but he can speak for himself. I think that this, up until now, has been a race between Vermin, Jacob Hornberger, and Joe Jorgensen after Lincoln Chafee dropped out. Now, previous to this, with the introduction of Judge Jim Gray, this became a race between Jim Gray, Joe Jorgensen, Jacob Hornberger, and Vermin Supreme. Jim Gray and Joe basically sharing the Prague vote and not really taking much out of the Prags, outside of the Prags. With Justin Amash coming in, I'm pretty sure Joe's done, and I'm pretty sure I would not be surprised if Jim is done. I think he'll fight. I think both Jim Gray and Joe Jorgensen will fight.
Jim's got an issue because he recently came out for UBI and
fair tax.
Fair tax.
The fair tax, and was a little waffly on ending the war on drugs. He just kept saying he'd like to legalize marijuana, which is great. And he actually, as a judge, was good on the war on drugs and has been a good advocate. He's been a good advocate on it, which
he's been a great advocate for the war.
He's been a great advocate for the war on drugs, so it was kind of weird. But
that's a weird way to put that. He's a great advocate for the war on drugs,
against the war on drugs. And I will say he has been a solid advocate against the war on drugs. So I think it's possible that was misread and that he really is. And I say this as someone that's competing against his running mate, Larry Sharp. I think he's solid on the war on drugs. I'm concerned about fair tax and UBI. I think that we as libertarians should be saying that all taxation is theft, and more importantly, explaining how, if government is to exist, how it can function without taxation. The things that are needed have a demand. If they have a demand, then people can pay for those things. We as libertarians need to completely abandon these Republican and Democrat ideas and go forward on a completely new, divergent way of doing business. And I think that people are attracted to boldness and fearlessness. They are not attracted to half measure stuff and scared pool. When you are presenting yourself as a third party, you are inviting people to vote for a candidate and a party that is likely to lose. So if you give them, instead of giving them a bold strategy that's completely different than anyone else is presenting, if you don't present the Republicrats as a unique individual monolithic bad that needs to be done away with, and yourself whatever your party is, in this case the Libertarians, as a completely new departure from anything they've done before and a completely different direction for society. If you aren't doing that, if you're presenting yourself as kind of the best parts of the Republicans and the Democrats and fiscally conservative and socially liberal and all of that stuff, here's what you're presenting the voters with. Two choices. One, the Republicans and Democrats, who they usually vote for, who don't really represent them and aren't really doing a great job and aren't really that good, but they're likely to win. One of them is likely to win. Or two, this new party that's exciting and sexy and kind of better, a little bit better than the other parties, but has almost no chance of winning. They're not going to vote for you. That's how you get 1% of the vote, or 2%, or 3%. That's how you don't get even 5%, much less the 35 or 40% that you need to actually win most elections in a three-way race. So, what's that?
You only need 33.
To safely win, especially if you're doing an electoral college type thing, you have to be getting at least 35% to really make sure that you're getting, enough of the electoral vote, especially if the Congress that has to sign off on that electoral vote is made up of people that aren't your party. Like almost 100%, because maybe even the Libertarians, if Libertarians got elected on that cycle, they wouldn't be sitting in Congress at that point. So, you need to get at least 35 or 40% as a third party to be taken seriously and actually be seen as winning that election. You have to be bold. So, Justin Amash coming in, I think ends Joe Jorgensen, is going to really be competing with Jim Gray for the Prague votes, is really going to be competing with Jacob for the Paleo-Lib Mises Caucus votes. And I think this is going to push a bunch of radicals our way. And I think that I don't think we're going to lose votes. I think we're going to gain votes from this. So I do think this helps for.
I don't see Justin Amash entering the race. I don't see that as a way to take votes away from Vermin. I see it hurting pretty much everybody else. Not so much Kokesh, who has his own following, and they're not going.
Kokesh has his own thing. Yeah.
And Dan Berman, I don't see it hurting him. John Mons, I like John. He's a super nice guy.
I like John.
I don't know anything that John is like. He's not an online guy, and this year you need to be an online guy in order to campaign. But so your Joe Jorgensen's, your Jim Gray, Jacob Hornberger, pretty much anybody else. Like those are the only ones that are names. Sorry, Ken, I love you. You're a great guy.
Who? Ken Armstrong?
Ken Blevins.
Ken Blevins, let me say something about Ken Armstrong. If I were a Prague or a constitutionalist, I would go wherever Ken Armstrong, I would follow wherever he went. I think he is one of the kindest, smartest, most personable, most what's the word I'm looking for? He's just an incredible person and speaks his policies very well, has an incredible presence. He's a big guy, booming voice. If he were a radical, like I said, if I were a constitutionalist, I'd follow Ken wherever he led. I absolutely love Ken Armstrong. I've told him that. I have told him I would be happy to do door knocking stuff side by side with him, do college stuff side by side. I also like to radicalize him. Is really what I'm trying to do. But I would love to radicalize Ken a little bit, and I like him. I absolutely love him, and I hate that he hasn't caught more traction. But I think that I am glad that he is. Tremendous integrity. I have nothing but good things to say about Ken Armstrong. I like Kenny. I like Kenny Blevins. It's tough because I'm running in a campaign where I'm trying to get that person to win and myself to win. But we have some incredible people in this race.
There's so many real libertarians running
who are also really good people. Like, in addition to being good libertarians, they're also very good people. I like Larry. I like Larry Sharp.
I like Larry too. Yeah,
I like Larry. We have a big disagreement on the strategy for this party and what works best for the party. And the delegates are going to make their choice based on what they think is going to be best. But I don't dislike Larry. I like Larry. You know, so I mean, it's this is the part that's sad because there's some incredible people in this race. I hope we can all kind of unify behind the idea that Justin Amash has no real place here. Not jumping in like this. If he joined the party, became a part of the libertarian culture, got into our ideas, helped us at the electoral level in terms of support and stuff like that, and then wanted to run for something in the future, then I think that a lot of minds would change. You can't do this. This is bullshit. You can't do this. And but we'll see. I do think it helps Vermin, though. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Tim Stanley asked about the link to that debate. If you can throw that into the show notes if you have it.
Oh, sure. Hold on.
And then John Liberty says, nice lids. Need one of those myself. John, you can get these at taxationistheft.cards.
.cards, yeah.
.cards. That is where you can pick up these sweet, sweet lids.
All right. Here is the debate. I'm going to put it on Facebook on just the Facebook because it's I guess I'll put it on.
Yeah, you can put it on everything.
I'll put it on everything because I'll say this.
So the libertarian presidential debate is shaping up to be one of the more exciting finishes because there is so much that could happen.
Yeah.
Especially with Amash entering.
Yeah.
Now, there's also the chance that Amash comes in and he wins. And he will say, he's going to give the same speech that Gary Johnson gave back in 2016, where it's like, if you want to get your 5% or you want to have a shot at this, because I don't think he'll say 5%. I think that he'll say, if you want to have a chance at winning this thing, right. Which he's going to say, we need to have somebody here with me that has the experience necessary and blah, blah, whatever. And we heard it. We heard it in 2016 with Gary Johnson. We heard it back then. And Bill Weld went out and he was an embarrassment.
And continues to be an embarrassment.
And continues to be. But arguably, he was a bigger embarrassment to Gary Johnson's Aleppo moment.
Oh, easily. Gary Johnson's Aleppo moment was he should have been more well-versed about foreign affairs. But at the same time, here's what people don't remember about that. And I'm not a huge Gary Johnson fan. Let me say that. I didn't even vote for Gary Johnson because he was too braggy for me. But here's what I want to say about Gary Johnson. He went into that town forum or whatever you want to call it, where he was basically being ganged up on by the entire crew of either MSNBC or CNN or whatever it was. There were like a ton of reporters, a ton of different people there asking him questions. And someone said, well, what about Aleppo? Not Aleppo, Syria, but what about Aleppo? And so the man said, I'm sorry, what is Aleppo? What is Aleppo? Yeah, what is Aleppo? So they told him, and he immediately gave a good answer about that we need to be getting out of this stuff. But they kept focusing. What is Aleppo? God forbid anyone watching this has ever had a moment where they didn't know something. And I mean, I had a moment today. What do you think about the Jordan documentary? I don't know. I haven't seen it. I mean, it happens. Like these things happen where you forget what something is, or you just haven't heard a specific name. I know that Aleppo was in the news and it was a big thing. And yeah, he probably should have known it. Maybe he did and just forgot. But Bill Weld consciously and intentionally refusing to do libertarian debate. I've spoken with people who are state chairs and regional reps during that time. Bill Weld would do nothing with libertarians. He would not help with anything after he got that nomination. He would go on national news a handful of times to vouch for Hillary Clinton. That's all he did. That's literally all he did. And then he would go back to his home in either Rhode Island or Massachusetts or wherever he lives now.
Oh, well, yeah, he's from Massachusetts.
He's from Massachusetts, but I want to say he lives in I believe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's what you're like, oh, God, especially if it's Mark Sanford. If it's Mark Sanford, the Libertarian Party better
Better.
If they select a mash, they better have the testicles to stand up and say, you're not getting Mark Sanford. You are picking a libertarian. You are not picking this guy.
If they go with Amash, they're going to go with whoever Amash tells them to go with. You're right. If they say, okay, fine, we'll go with Amash, but we have to pair him with a solid, not just like a solid libertarian to offset this. And I'm not even saying it has to be me or anything like that. If they say, Jacob Hornberger or Vermin or make Kim Ruff be his VP, or something.
I would pay for an Amash Supreme ticket. An Amash Supreme ticket? Oh my God, that would be amazing.
That almost worth it.
That would be. You got Justin Amash out there talking about basically how much he hates Trump, and we're gonna end the wars and whatever.
Hey,
and then
kids!
Hey, kids!
Oh man!
What are you gonna name your pony?
That's good, actually.
I think that would be amazing to see.
I don't know who among those two would be more. Well, so initially, I don't know who would be more bitter about that pairing, Vermin or Justin. I know who would be at the end. I know who would be more upset about that at the end.
I don't think Vermin would be upset about it.
No, I think Vermin would cease to be upset about it.
Yeah. I think Vermin would be like, I think that there'd be a little bit of bitterness right at the beginning, but then he'd be like, well, I still get to do my thing. I still get to get my voice out there because I'm not going to kowtow to this.
At all.
I'm still going to do my message.
At
and
all.
Justin's just going to be on television. And
completely ignore.
Your vice presidential candidate, Vermin Supreme, wears a boot on his head and he's talking about killing baby Hitler. And yeah.
And when they ask Vermin about Justin, he's like, who? And just goes back to doing his whole thing. Oh man, almost worth it. Almost worth it. But if they did go with Amash, they better damn well pair him with a serious libertarian. But they're not going to. They're going to go with whoever he tells them to. God, what a terrible choice. Oh my Lord.
Yeah,
this is exactly what I got. I got into this race because I thought that Vermin presented a unique opportunity for us to expand the LP to 2 generations of disaffected, disillusioned voters who this system have completely left behind, and also reach out to the nearly half of eligible voters who don't vote. I thought that this was an incredible opportunity to give all of those people a gigantic reset button / no confidence vote with a sympathetic character that they can love and get behind, who can, and we call it boot pilling them, who can find out more about libertarianism just because they're so intrigued by him as the character. He presents an incredible outsized opportunity that I think we'd be foolish to ignore. If the delegates decide I'm wrong and that we need to go a more serious route, then my next thing is, okay, fine. Whoever it is, Vermin or whoever, it needs to be an actual libertarian. And oh my Lord.
And you have a lot of people that are, some of them are members of the party, and they're out there doing the work. They're going door to door for their candidates, and to them, I respect them. Them. I have done that. I know how difficult that is. That is a very, very difficult thing to do when you're sitting there and you're knocking on doors and you're saying, "Hey, come and vote for my guy," and they're saying, "Well, no, I don't want to vote against whatever." Now, I get that, and you don't want to have to go out and try to push somebody that you may see as an embarrassment. I get that, but you have a bunch of other people. I'm not talking about the people who are doing this, who are doing the door-to-door. I'm talking about the other people, the people who are libertarians on Reddit, the libertarians in the libertarian groups on Facebook, the people who are conservatives or Democrats that say they're liberal or libertarian, that say they're libertarian, but when push comes to shove, they will vote defensively in November. They are the people who are saying the libertarians need to run somebody serious. The libertarians are the ones that they need to run somebody serious. You can't run a joke candidate. Otherwise, you're not going to. And they are the reason that Gary Johnson didn't get 5%. They are the reason Bob Barr Well, no, Bob Barr was the reason Bob Barr didn't get 5%. Never mind. Don't blame them for Bob Barr. But they are the ones that will vote defensively in November, and they are the ones who are saying you need to run a serious candidate. But when push comes to shove, they are going to vote for the candidate that will keep Trump or Biden out of office.
Right. So, breaking news as of, how long ago was this? 2 hours ago, I guess right after the show started, Craig Bowden, VP candidate, has dropped out and endorsed me. Which I was not expecting. I'm just seeing all these people liking something that I was tagged in, and I glance on over, and it's Craig Bowden has dropped out and endorsed me. Craig, thank you for your endorsement and your vote of confidence. You are an incredible inspiration to me. You're one of my favorite people in the party. I was happy to have you in the race and to have you. We actually talk quite a bit. We talk probably a few times a week, almost every day. And you are a friend. And I know that you will continue some great work in Utah and for the Libertarian Party. And I will be there, if not physically, then in spirit, and hopefully physically soon once we're allowed to leave our houses and roam about the cabin again. I will be certain to be there for you for any endeavors and ventures that you have. Thank you. That is very humbling, and I very much appreciate it. So there's that. That happened.
That
definitely happened. So it is. It's me and Larry Sharp.
Isn't McAfee?
Oh, and Oh, yeah. Me and Larry Sharp and John McAfee, who's also running still for president.
I forgot Biden face.
Who?
Biden face. Craig Bowden just endorsed you. You need to give the Biden.
Oh God! Here, you read it. Do you see the post?
I have decided that now is not the time to run to be nominated as vice president. As humbled as I felt being asked to run, the mechanics simply aren't in place for me at this point in my life. As such, I will be endorsing Spike Cohen to be nominated. Oh. My work in the Liberty Movement and the Libertarian Party will continue elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. That does mean a lot.
So if you happen to be online...
If you happen to be on the internet... well, first, so let's talk about what we're doing. So tomorrow, on the Muddy Water... Or on My Fellow Americans, which is my show, I am having a special guest, Desiree Lindsay, who is the campaign manager for Vermin Supreme. She's coming on to talk about the campaign. Oh, she's also the national chair of the Libertarian Party Psychedelic Caucus, and we will absolutely be talking about that. We are going to be talking a lot about psychedelics. Absolutely. Straight up talking a lot about psychedelics. And we will be talking about the campaign that I was just endorsed by Craig Bowden. And then on Thursday, I will be on the Ask a Libertarian... Yes, I will be on Ask a Libertarian podcast, 7 p.m. Ask a Libertarian. And then on Friday, I will be on two things. These are both... Well, so if you're in the Libertarian Party of Delaware, then you can see me on me and Vermin on the LP Delaware Zoom meetup at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, I will be on the Libertarian Party of Indiana Happy Hour Zoom call, which I think is open to the public, but I'm not positive of that. So I'll be on that. And then on Saturday, I will be at 8 p.m. I will be on the Whiskey Region Libertarian Party of the Whiskey Region of Tennessee Zoom call with featuring John Mons, Paige Sexton, and Tom Arnold, and Dave Jones. I'll be on that. And then I know there's something I'm missing here, but there's something I'm doing on Monday as well, but I can't remember and I don't have it on here. But I'm definitely going to be doing that. And then tune in right back here Tuesday, probably at 8 Eastern, for the Muddy Waters of Freedom, where Matt Wright and I will parse through the week's events like the sweet little men. It's not summer yet. The springy boys, the little springy boys that we are. Matt, if someone were to look for us on the internet, is that possible? And if so, how?
It is possible. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/muddiedwatersmedia. You can find us on Twitter at muddied_waters. You can find us on Float at flote.app, float.app/muddiedwatersmedia. You can find us on Anchor if you just like hearing our sweet, sultry,
dulcet tones.
At anchor.fm/muddiedwaters. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/muddiedwatersmedia. You can find us on Instagram at instagram.com/muddiedwatersmedia if you use their website as opposed to at muddiedwatersmedia. Or you can find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/muddiedwatersmedia. Or you can find this and every other episode at muddiedwatersmedia.com.
You can also find us on TikTok, but we haven't actually done anything there. And probably won't. We probably should, though. We probably should.
I think I'm following one person on TikTok.
Yeah. Just Vermin.
Yeah.
We're literally just following Vermin. We created an account just to follow Vermin. So you can check us out there, following Vermin. You can see all the times we've hearted Vermin. So yeah, folks, thanks again for tuning in. We will see you next week. I'll see you tomorrow. Better see you tomorrow. Desiree Lindsay. And where we're going,
we don't need roads.
Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord. COVID-19.
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 I blow the wind of God from the state of Washington to the state of Maine to Brownsville, Texas, and the tip of Florida. Today, we speak to this atmosphere. Today, burn this thing. This virus hates heat. You just burn this thing. Burn, burn. I call for a supernatural heat wave straight out of hell. Burn, burn. COVID-19.
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 I blow the wind of God. You don't do it. You don't do it. You don't do it. You get out of here now. Burn. You don't do it. You don't do it. You don't do it. You get out of here. Burn this thing. COVID-19.
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 I blow the wind of God. You are destroyed forever, and you'll never be back.
We're also testing disinfectants, readily available. We've tested bleach. We've tested isopropyl alcohol. I can tell you that bleach will kill the virus in 5 minutes, and that's with no manipulation.
So suppose we hit the body. I see the disinfectant. Suppose we hit the body with tremendous ultraviolet. Suppose we hit the body. I see the disinfectant. Suppose we hit the body with tremendous ultraviolet. We're leading the way in so many different ways. Supposing you brought the light inside the body in some other ways. As we continue to develop potential therapies, I see the disinfectant. I see the disinfectant. I think people are going to know. You're going to know. I'm going to know. I think people are going to know. You're going to know. I'm going to know. I think people are going to know it. I see the disinfectant. This whole curse, this whole plague. And is there a way we can do something like that? Injection. Suppose we hit the body. I see the disinfectant. Suppose we hit the body with tremendous ultraviolet. Suppose we hit the body. I see the disinfectant. Suppose we hit the body with tremendous ultraviolet. As we continue our battle against the virus, the data in fact suggests that we're making great progress. With tremendous ultraviolet to the invisible enemy. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body. And then I see the disinfectant ultraviolet through the skin. And it's working very well. Very big deal. We will end this plague. And then I see the disinfectant. I see the disinfectant. That's really powerful. We hit the body. I see the disinfectant. Suppose we hit the body with tremendous ultraviolet. Suppose we hit the body. I see the disinfectant. Suppose we hit the body with tremendous ultraviolet.